ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome into episode number 25 of the Tuesday Track Talk, featuring your Three Stones pick crew. My name is Kellen. I'm your Jackman.
I'm your tire changer, Cam.
I'm also Cam. I'm your gas man.
And we've got quite the episode for you. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Cars Tour season opener, kind of recap. Quite the race they had over there for the Cars Tour, and we're going to follow it up with Xfinity and the NASCAR Cup Series. Those are kind of the three big ones that we've hit on this weekend. But before we get going, fellas, this past weekend, what's going on?
Well, we met up with each other, and when that happens, the cold beverages flow pretty well.
Flow's an understatement.
And the race car dream was alive and well.
We actually had a little
that's the
competition too.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we had a little money, what would we do? That conversation.
Yep. But then we had a little competition too with between the World Outlaws and then it was really NASCAR Heat. Hopped onto there and ran some laps at a few tracks and showed who's good and who's not.
Honestly, that's fun. I was expecting a little more out of the dirt, but being on the NASCAR side or the asphalt side of things, I mean, it turned out to be, you got one guy winning the fastest lap, you got one guy finishing with the best average. So that was kind of cool to see just the different variables that we were looking at.
Yeah. And then I ran a ton of laps on the World of Outlaws game too. So it's got me the bug. I really should re-up my deal with iRacing and get that one going again and turn some laps, especially to get ready for our competition that we might have during the USA Nationals this year again.
Yep, he's got the itch. He's gonna have to scratch it.
Yep. Maybe get a little test and tuning in so I can kick you guys' ass when you come up.
Thanks. Well, so we want to go ahead and jump into the Cars Tour recap. So they were at Southern National for their season opener.
Should say late model stocks as well.
Late model stocks getting their seasons kicked off. Last weekend they had the pros. Now this weekend they got the late model stocks. So I'll go ahead and kick it to you guys in terms of getting into kind of some race recaps and other notable moments within that race.
Yeah, so I mean, I was kind of listening to it more than anything because I did have to work on Sunday, so I was listening to it. But it looks like Brent Cruz led a lot of laps. Connor Hall was up there fighting for the lead quite a bit. You had your typical names throughout the race there too, back at it. But I think I want to touch on it. We kind of mentioned it a little bit before the race. Two names that didn't even make the show: Landon Hoffman and Stephen Assey didn't even make the show.
That was a surprise to me. And obviously, Landon Hoffman has come out and said, we've got to be better, and there's obviously something significantly wrong with the race car. And he's a smart enough dude that he'll figure it out. But Stephen Assey, that was a surprise to me, knowing how much he's run late models in general. That I just figured he would be able to hop in that car, especially his own ride, and be able to run well enough to find himself in the feature. So I just honestly, when I flip the race on, I'm like, where's Assey? And you just watch the ticker scroll across the screen. You're like,
not on there.
He didn't make the feature.
Yep.
And that was like a huge surprise.
And I think tire changer already hit on it, but hello, Brent Cruz.
Yeah.
He's right. He ran that ASA race. Was that at New Smyrna?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago, and obviously we thought that was like the hello Brent Cruz when he had a bad fast car, was running up front most of the night, and stack field of cars, and looks like he's followed that up with a solid performance, and just continuing to build performance after performance, showing when he gets behind the wheel of good equipment, he's definitely going to be a threat to win it.
And the interesting part is, so you think about it, like, so I'm thinking super late model to late model stock. Stephen Nasse, who shows up in a super late model, can be fairly dominant anywhere. Brent Cruz has proven that he can do it in an array of race cars. I mean, the dude ran the Chili Bowl, runs New Smyrna, leads some laps in New Smyrna, and turns around in the Cars Tour season opener and he leads laps there. So,
Yep.
The fellow's obviously proven that he can lead laps, which these are drastically different cars that he's in. So, that's quite interesting to see. And good for him. He's obviously starting to make a big name for himself. So, pretty cool little deer, though. Did anyone else see it was early in the race, but Carson Quapple, he monster trucked the 08. It was the
I
8 and the 08. And holy hell, Carson got his nose inside of the 08. The 08 said, yeah, no, that's the inside line's mine. And dude, he monster trucked the 08.
Yeah, the Catskill car. No, I didn't see it, but I did see, actually it was just before we hopped on here. I did see a picture of that, right in the moment type of thing. And you always worry about, something in the suspension getting broken or bent when you do that. But it certainly didn't look like that car hindered at all after he did that.
And at the end of the day, Carson beat some pretty serious fast race cars to win that race. So
Yeah.
he monster trucked it and said, yeah, we're good. We'll finish that bad boy.
Yep. You also had that big wreck there in turn 1 and 2 that took out a couple of guys, Trevor Ward, Mason Diaz. Or no, Mason Diaz went out earlier, but yeah, that took out a couple of good guys there. A couple of them took some hard hits too.
For sure. So, kind of to wrap up the Cars Tour, um, that Nelson Motorsports 22, they proved again that they've got a fast race car. Connor Hall, he ran up front a ton
Yep.
of that race, but ultimately at the end of the day, Carson Koppel just flexes his muscle with the junior motorsports team in that 8 and just proves that they are again
Gonna be
going to be a
tough to
tough
beat.
one to beat. Yep, they're going to be tough to beat in that Cars Tour late model stock. He obviously is getting a crack at the Xfinity Series.
Yep.
With his boss in that 88 for Junior Motorsports and Xfinity Series at Martinsville. So that'd be another opportunity to keep your eye on for them. But he's showing that A car's picked up right where they left off last year with that championship. So he'll be somebody to keep an eye on for the late model stocks. So
Covering the
kind of
top.
go ahead.
I was gonna say just covering the top 5 real quick. Carson Coughlin, Connor Hall, Deke McCaskill, Chase Burrow, and Caden Honeycutt were top 5. Brent Cruz finished 6th. Couple of guys that I kind of want to point out too. Lane Riggs in that KHI car finished 11th. And Brandon Butterbean Queen, who came on really good at the end of last year, finished 19th. So not exactly the start that he was looking for to the start of the year. Long year yet, so you can make up some ground, but it's a deep hole to try and dig yourself out of right out of the gate.
For sure. So it'd be
Good to see,
interesting. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's good to see, even through all those cautions, that Connor Hall could stay on the lead lap there.
Oh my God.
And
Just can't let it go.
yeah, Cam's a Connor Hall guy. He's a
Oh
Connor
yeah.
Hall lead lap guy at this point. I mean, geez. But
if he's, running the full season, who's to say that? And especially with Carson's going to miss one race in the Cars Tour, but to run that Martinsville race, who's to say that Connor Hall maybe doesn't sneak away with that championship?
I'm going to tell you that the championship race is going to get interesting really quick. He was a late model stock guy before he got with Nelson, and Nelson's obviously
Yep.
proven that they can put together fast race cars. So it'll be interesting to see what they put together, both with a pretty solid driver. And not that Landon Huffman wasn't a good driver, it's just this combo could prove to be lethal. We just
Yep.
never know. But so that's kind of a recap on the Cars Tour season opener. So if you're looking to tune into them, a great opportunity to go ahead and watch them on Flow. Catch all the races on Flow, both the pros and the late model stocks. So pretty cool deal there if you want to get it.
Yep.
We've said it a million times. Your Flow subscription will pay itself pretty quickly when you start to watch this series alone, and then all of the other stuff in terms of Lucas Oil and High Limit and all the other series you get with them.
Chili
So
Bowl race weekend and
yeah, Chili Bowl, the Dome with the super late models. So
yep.
um the options are endless with Flow. So if you want to tune in, go ahead and hop over there. So second race recap we got for you. The IndyCar getting their season kicked off. So Van Grohl, I'll kick you this one. You're a little more in depth than Cam and I. So I'll go ahead and kick it to you and let you kind of recap us as terms of what they got going on.
Yeah, so IndyCar kicked off their season at St. Petersburg, the street course there, as they have done for many years. Pretty straightforward. Joseph Newgarden wins the pole. Kind of an interesting fact here. The track record was broken 3 times during qualifying. And just because of how they did qualifying, Joseph Newgarden did not have the track record. Um, but regardless, fast cars, the chassis got lighter, bodies got lighter, engines got lighter, and that just resulted in a lot of speed. Overall in the race, though, pretty fairly clean race. No major wrecks compared to last year. Those that tuned into my race preview know I touched on that a little bit. No multi-car wrecks. But you did have a lot of contact between guys. So, but that's also, I think, just a result of guys ready to race hard for the year. Uh, Pit road became pretty crucial. Race with the race off pit road, put some guys back, but ultimately Newgarden was just unstoppable. He had the race of the car of the race. He ended up leading 92 of the 100 laps in that race. And yeah, just pure domination on his part, car to beat, and probably is going to be the threat to win this year. He was kind of the championship favorite going into it. So um, no, St. Petersburg, beautiful track. Always nice to see them race there. Um, so a couple of fun facts here. Joseph Newgarden, he is undefeated so far in the year because he also won the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Team Penske is in the points lead in 4 different series that they race in. Because Blaney took the points championship lead this weekend at Phoenix, so he's in the lead there. They're in the
Oh,
lead for the IMSA series, obviously in the lead now with IndyCar and the WEC. So
damn.
Penske's off to a banging start of a year and pick it up where they left off.
Your head man's got to be pretty happy.
Oh, for sure.
I was
For
gonna
Shout
say,
out,
sure.
shout
sound
out
like
Johnny Menard.
yeah, Johnny's been funneling money into that Penske program like it's nobody's business. So I
And
figured
hey,
he
it's paying off.
grit
That
into me
works
every
great for
year
me.
for sure.
So no
Well,
As
IndyCar.
long as long as you're good with your pay being froze for the next 10 years.
that and well, is they're gonna freeze his pay, but then he's gonna stick about $600 a year into diecast cars. So be a
I'm
tough
reinvesting
road
that
for that
money.
guy.
I'm reinvesting in that money. Yep. So
Yeah, but no, I mean honestly, when you think about it, that's it's only an instant in time, but wow, is that crazy?
yeah.
That's a wild stat to think that he with those Penske programs, they're just that good that they can lead that many different series and especially be such significantly huge series. That's a hell of a feat to do with those programs. So pretty damn cool,
Oh yeah,
honestly.
for
So
sure. IndyCar, I'm definitely going to try and dive into that a lot more this year. It's kind of one of those opportunities of when it came up, I was going to watch the race. Obviously, everybody watches the Indy 500 as a part of Memorial Day weekend. Um, but otherwise, yeah, really looking forward to the IndyCar season this year. Got a couple of weeks off, I believe, before the next race. I'm just going to double check that. Yeah, a couple of weeks off, and then they're racing $1 million challenge. So good start to the year. Going to be a great year, and I'll be excited for it, especially when they go to Milwaukee later this year.
hey, we might even have somebody in attendance.
I may or may not have purchased a ticket over the
Confirmed.
week. So
Hell yeah.
Were they going to
So,
Iowa this year or no?
they are
yep. Absolutely. So,
doubleheader. They're doing Saturday, Sunday, actually.
yep. 4.
Which a little news with that with Milwaukee, Hy-Vee picked up the sponsorship for that race. So Hy-Vee is strengthening their presence in IndyCar. So
Good for them, but KT, where you at?
yep.
I wish they would have flexed their muscle a little bit there, But I that's
Neither
just
here nor there.
yeah, here nor there, it's also a pretty significant investment.
Oh
So
yeah.
um
I mean, I'm
yeah,
good with Hy-Vee. Down
yeah,
in Ross here, all we got, that's where I live, Quick Trip and Hy-Vee.
Yep.
I enjoy the Hy-Vee grocery store. Just got it like 2 years ago, and it's big store. They got a lot of different stuff in there. So I actually liked our Hy-Vee. Took me right
sweet.
away from festival.
Oof, that's tough. But um so let's go ahead and hop into what would be the Xfinity race. So let's go ahead and hop into the NASCAR top 3 series. So um let's go ahead and take a look at the Xfinity series, and I'll kind of kick it to you guys again, as well as we were together watching that whole deal play out as a crew. But I'll kick it to you guys. Initial reactions with the Xfinity series between the wrecks and the finish and all that went into that. So how are we feeling about that?
Heartbroken. I mean,
My
that was brutal for all Geyer.
race picks, this is brutal for Matt, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to have the car that was the class of the field and be up there and running stuff and um be running away with it and to blow a tire is, I mean, that's just absolutely brutal for him and that team. And I was reading one of the things, or when I was listening to Denny's podcast today right after it came out, Allgaier said he ran something over. There's no shot, but Denny was saying too, one of the issues with some of those guys, they run so low down there, but like when they get cautions and those trucks come out, like those jet drivers, and they blow the track off, sometimes they blow stuff down on the apron, and if you get down there too low, you're running in all sorts of junk.
Yeah.
And Denny said he's like, that's one of the bad parts about running down there. He's like, stuff like that can happen. And so I mean, that's the nature of the beast. It's unfortunate. Ran it down there a little bit too low and hit something that blows a tire. And I mean, that was brutal because he was class of the field and had that thing all but secured.
I mean, you could see the disappointment in his body when he got out of that car.
So, correct. I'm going to say you could see the disappointment, but I'm going to tell you this. If that car gets to the final four for the championship this year, look out. They're gonna go into that race going, you know what? We went there in the spring. We had the class of the field. We were feeling good, and we just had a freak thing happen. Now, that can happen in the championship race too, and I understand that. But from a pure race, setup, trim, qualifying, get you where you got to be, that squad had that car ready to go. So I would
Mhm.
say you're leaving here going, we wrecked out, but you're also leaving going, you know what? Championship race is there. If we can get to the championship race, we're feeling pretty damn good.
Yep.
The other part
Yep.
too about that for Allgaier is I don't know what I should have done some research what his contract looks like, but that's somebody who I feel like he's racing for his job every year. And last year, I think it was after that Bristol race when he won it, he's like,
Yep.
I'm not sure I'm supposed to announce this right now if I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to be back in the 7 car next year. And it just feels like he's somebody who's solid every single year, but for some reason, it feels like his job's always seems to be in limbo. So,
Well, and I wouldn't say his job's ever in limbo. He's won at least a race every year. It's
For sure.
just yeah, so it's just that he's coming back for a ninth season 24, at least for the site that I'm looking at here. It doesn't say anything about how long that is.
What you
I
can
mean,
reasonably say with the production he's had, he'll have a job. It's just a matter of if it's at Junior Motorsports or not.
I think it's ultimately going to come down to it's kind of Allgaier's decision if he wants to race or not.
Yep, I'd agree. He's kind of one of those veteran, old school Xfinity lifers. You know, when you think
Yeah,
about all guys,
he's just the guy that sticks around in Xfinity.
yeah, he's been around
Likes
long
racing
enough.
in it.
He's like
We'll,
schedule
s-
fits him well. He
we'll
enjoys
sub
the
in
car.
we'll sub
He's
in
got a
cup
good,
if needed, and yep.
he's got a good program around him. If something would come up in the cup, he'd sub and do it. But he gives me the crafting of the Xfinity Series feel. You know,
Yeah, 100%.
like he's kind of one of those parallels when you think about the Xfinity Series. So, um, yeah,
Yep.
absolute heartbreak for him. But how about when we think about, he had heartbreak, but let's talk about JHN.
Hmm.
Feller had himself a tough weekend, one might say. Um, Gets into his teammate, wrecks, one might say, half or 3/4 of the field. In that whole deal. And unfortunately for a handful of us, that took out a lot of our big race picks. I mean, there were just car after car. Sam Mayer,
the
damn guy
nightmare
came.
year for Sam Mayer continues.
Oh yeah.
Absolute nightmare start.
Yep.
That feller can't catch a break. I mean,
If he didn't have
like,
bad luck, he would have no luck.
jeez.
Literally, I mean, what does a guy got to do? I mean, accidents are literally seeking him out every week.
I was gonna say we were uh we were at Bluffside watching and we're just like, hang on, did we see that right? And you just look, it's half the field, and Sam Mayer gets out, and he's like,
Yep.
what's a guy got to do? You know,
Yep.
but obviously JHN had a tough weekend
I
collectively across
mean,
the board, and we'll touch on the next part in our next topic. But
for his Xfinity, granted he got the win last week at Vegas, but I'm kind of mind blown here with the debacle or what the strategy is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Cup guys are capped at 6 Xfinity races,
Yeah.
and he's burned 4 off the bat. He's raced every single Xfinity race to start the year. So I don't know if it's, hey, right away, we need to get him as much seat time as possible in this cup car. I don't know what the strategy is there because it's like,
I think the interesting part is now you have to remember that Joe Gibbs has got the retired in quotations, Eric Almirola in the seat too. I wonder if that shuffles a little bit of their driver lineup where JHN is going to run all of his races right out of the gate, or obviously he's run the first 3 or 4, and then he's going to go ahead and burn up his starts at the tracks that he wants, and then he's got 1 or 2 tracks later in the year that he needs seat time at that he can do, and then they're going to shuffle Almirola. But it's a very interesting dynamic they've got with Joel Gibbs there, especially in what you would consider their superstar car.
So I have here that Nemechek will compete in 10 races this year.
So am I right on the 6-race cap limit? Where's Bob Pockris on line 1 when you need him?
He's gonna run. Yeah, he's running these 4 races. He's actually really running the next 5 because he's also racing Coda since Xfinity is off. So he's got the first 5, and then he's splitting it with Almirola.
Damn. For
That's
some
why I
reason,
love Bob Pockris on X, because if you ever think you got a race question and somebody asks it, Bob's in the know. He's got you covered on X. Dude knows all the rules.
Yeah.
so the funny part you say that is somebody tweeted at Bob, I think it was yesterday, and they go, they tagged him and they said, Bob, how's business? And all he replied in caps lock is booming.
If I remember right, I think the rule is that you have to have X amount of years in Cup in order for it to get limited to 6.
Okay.
If I remember seeing something from a while back. And that's how that rule works.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I had the number 6 in my head, and I'm like, wow, JHN, he's just burning them up. But I very well could be wrong.
Like I said, I forget it's either a number of years or number of races or something like that. But that's what I vaguely remember seeing something like that now. So that would explain it.
Got it.
So this could I don't know the legitimacy. It's NASCAR 101, but it says this is from 2020. Under the 2020 guidelines, drivers with more than 3 years of experience of Premier Series experience will be limited to in their lower series participation. So is more than 3 years of Premier experience, Premier Series experience, is that NASCAR?
So Cup, really.
Will be limited. The amount of Xfinity races will be allowed for those veterans will trim from 7 to 5.
Well, that's for guys with 3 or more starts.
So maybe that's shit.
Well, at the end of the day, let's be honest, Joe Gibbs knows the rules, and they're not going to bend them. So they've obviously got something figured out, whether it be a loophole and or whatever JHN has figured out, they'll be on it
Oh yeah.
for the places that he wants laps. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't find anything recent. But
Damn.
might have to fire a tweet at Bob. He'll get us the rules straight.
For sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, we can go ahead and look at the race. I mean, Chandler Smith wins the race. Kind of a little bit of a circumstance, but the dude ran up front all day. There's nowhere to be denying that he had, again, Joe Gibbs put together a good race car for him. He was there to be able to get that race sealed up. So
to confirm, I just found an article on the Daily Downforce. NASCAR Cup Series drivers are limited in how many races they can compete in lower series. Full-time drivers racing for Cup Series points with 3 or more years of experience are limited to 5 Xfinity starts and 5 truck starts. These Cup
So-
Series drivers are ineligible to compete in Xfinity Series Dash for Cash races, Truck Series Triple Truck Challenge, and playoffs, regular season finale for both series.
So
So,
JHN wouldn't fit the bill because it doesn't have 3 years of cup experience.
Correct.
how many didn't he run? Wasn't he in the 38?
Yeah.
It was
Well,
one year, I believe.
correct.
Got
It
it.
was at the
1 year.
38.
36.
But either way, he
Yeah.
had a year.
It's 36.
Got it.
So at the end
Anyways,
of
I
the
don't
day,
know. He's burning them up early. That's all I'm saying. Well, he's not burning anything up if he doesn't. He's not capped, but yeah, he's not shying away. But um, switching gears, but staying in the Toyota camp, Chandler Smith gets
Yeah.
is he the next? Is he the next pipeline Toyota driver to make the jump? I mean, clearly he's showed he can get it done. He ran well with colleague last year in that 16, or was it 16 or 10? 16. Yeah, 16 quick tie. Obviously he ran well with them all year. And I don't know what the deal was, if he saw the pipeline of Chevy drivers or what it was to make the move to JGR. Financial, I'm no idea, but either way, I think he continues to run well.
He's got himself a capper seat.
Yeah, and he's like,
Sure.
that I can recall, you don't typically see him in the headline for doing dumb stuff. He just seems like he just goes about his business, runs well. And yeah, somebody who I think is positioning himself well for maybe that next step. I don't know where it would be.
No. I think you got to start to think what's Martin Truex up to. He could be ready to
Yeah.
retire. It is he could be ready to retire, and that could shake some things up, whether it be organizationally or manufacturerly.
For the record, I think the most controversial thing that Chandler Smith did was the way that he won the Snowball Derby in 21.
Well, correct.
But I think that's about it.
Yeah. Well, you're racing for a snowball derby title. That's a different story.
Yeah, but yeah, you're also talking about short track races. But yes, that's still a different story.
Point
True.
series leader.
What's that?
Chandler Smith, point series leader.
Yep.
For sure. So, why don't we go ahead? So Chandler Smith goes ahead and wins the Xfinity Series race. So locks himself into the playoffs. Why don't we go ahead and jump over to the Cup Series? So staying within the Toyota camp, we'll just touch on it real quick, but Christopher Bell wins the race, locks himself in. I mean, due to that dominant car, but there were a ton of different storylines within that race. So I'll kick it to you guys again. What are your big storylines within the Cup Series race there? And just before we do that, I looked today and Jeff Glocks. I'm going to pull Van Gogh here. Jeff Glocks
Was it a good race poll?
Correct. He had was it a good race poll, and the poll was not good. It was like when I voted myself, it was like 60-40 not good.
I voted it was 48-52 to bad.
Interesting. It was significantly worse when I voted.
So I forget who I read it from, and I'm gonna try and find it here. But it was something along the lines of it's not the package, because that was the big conversation, was the short track package coming into this
Yeah.
race.
Yep, new
40-60
package that they
right
brought.
now.
What's
What's
that?
that?
40% yes, 60% no.
Okay. Yep.
But no, it was something along the lines of you can't interpret the race based on the package. You have to interpret it based on what the race itself is. And in the past, that's what Phoenix has been. It's been everybody, 7 wide going into the dog leg
Mhm.
to fight your position, get every position that you can, and then you just kind of not ride around, but it's hard to pass because of the arrow that comes off it. And that's just the way that Phoenix is. Is it something
Well,
that we have to accept? No, but it's just what it is.
Give us
well,
more horsepower.
correct. So here's what I'm gonna say, and Cam's gonna love this one. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw that out there. So, we were talking about this today, and Derek Kraus had himself a tough day. Obviously that's a tough track to hop in a cup car for the second time. Loses it by himself, collects a couple cars. But after that second wreck, when again JHN absolutely shipped the 22 and took a few cars with him, Cross came out of the infield care center and they just said they were talking about racing and driving cars and this and that. And they asked him about that car and he just said it's 10 to 15 times harder to pass in this car than anything else he's driven. And even today on Action Sentimental, Denny Hamlin said he's right. So that's a pretty big statement coming from a Cup Series veteran of that long to say, yeah, the dude that's run that car twice has proven that, yeah, it's this something's not right here.
So I also found the quote that I was looking for from Jeff Gluck. He got it from Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoy and Ryan Flores. It was basically the conversation out of yesterday is Phoenix gonna Phoenix, and all the package ideas really aren't gonna change it. It's a different race. Reset your expectations accordingly.
So off of that, the two thoughts I have was, I mean, we're coming off of just, you know, 3 absolute heater races to start the year. From Daytona to Atlanta to Vegas, we're coming off of 3 heater races that,
Oh,
fantastic races.
Yep.
And, Denny mentioned it. This was the first time that we didn't have a photo finish or a guy racing each other at the end. And all of a sudden, just because Christopher Bell had the class of the field car and he wins by, 4.5, 5 seconds, everybody right away is like, it's a bad race. But to like Danny's point, I thought for the most part, I thought it was a good race. I mean, up front, guys are, the leaders were, running single file and, whatever, but you go back in the field a little bit, guys were racing the heck out of each other. And you get
Eric
guys,
Jones. I was
yeah,
gonna say Eric Jones and Chase Briscoe, they left that place, and I don't know, they probably didn't even touch, but at the end of the day, they were pissed off at each other.
and it just, I mean, you know, 1 and 2 that where guys are running below the apron, and then you got a guy running on the wall. I mean, I thought for the majority of it, it was a good race. And then the other part that I thought Denny Hamlin is, which maybe does cut into, people's expectations. Maybe Fox has got to do a little bit more of a better job of telling the story of Christopher Bell driving through the field
Yeah.
and not just showing them, oh, Christopher Bell gets the pass for the lead and he's now got a 3-second gap. Maybe you got to show him knifing through the field and build the storyline a little bit better. But
Well,
it was the
to your
first.
point, to your point, Cam. So Fox has taken a little heat about their broadcast, and it's been fairly well known that they've taken some heat for it. But at the end of the day, the first time that we really paid attention to somebody carving through the field was when Denny had tried to come through the field. Like, there really was no, oh, well, this guy's +9, he's +8, he's +7, whatever it was. There really was none of that until Denny Hamlin got barred deep, and all of a sudden the race leaders got to try to come through the field. So there's something to be said, and that's to your point, Cam, that maybe Fox, hey guys, we gotta be a little bit more on it here in terms of who we're covering and where they're coming from, you know?
Yeah, and I think it kind of just, again, that's where,
Magnifies the point.
yeah, and I think that's, where somebody who's tuning in from, the NASCAR full speed series, they just see flip it on, and the only thing they see is this is Max Verstappen, but in NASCAR. They
Mhm.
just see a guy with a 5-second lead and no competition. It's like, hey, show him as he's, back in 12th, then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, Christopher Bell just went past 2 cars in that lap. He's running the quickest lap time. Go back and give us a little bit more of that action. Somebody that's got fast cars running good laps. I don't know. I think it would help. Because again, I personally thought it was an awesome race. I enjoy Phoenix. And to Denny's point, today he said, to your quote as well, Fangirl, you said it too. But Denny said, maybe we just need to quit the shit, trying stuff, and just accept Phoenix for what it is. It's a unique track.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna Van Grohl, I hate to cut you off, but I'm gonna tell you, I read an article today that said championship race after 2025 is going away from Phoenix. It's going back to Homestead.
Well, rumored.
Rumored, yes, but
Heavily rumored.
the heavily rumored, but the conversation is there.
Yep.
And I don't like it.
I don't mind that. I as much as I love short track racing, I don't mind that.
So
Let
let me
him
ask you
let a guy
guys,
rip
did
the
you
bottom.
guys think it was a good race?
I did. I'm gonna say I did. You know, I voted yes.
I would agree as well. Again, I was kind of doing more listening than anything because of work, that damned old work. Um, but it's kind of one of those you have to be able to sit through the race and kind of go along with it as well. So I'm looking at the race results here and I'm looking at the laps led. This kind of goes hand in hand with Toyota's dominance of it. They led all but 14 laps of that race. Toyota did as a camp. Of those laps led, 5 Toyota drivers led laps, all of at least 50 laps. Yeah, Denny Hamlin led 68. Tyler Reddick led 68. Truex led 55. Gibbs led 57. And Bill led 50. So you had 5 different leaders leading throughout that race. But then you had your also additional storylines. If I'm looking at this, the top 10, 1 Chevy, you got 5 Fords and 4 Toyotas in the top 10. The next group of Chevys are 13th, 14th, 15th with Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, and Carson Holzfar. So I feel like part of that conversation of the arrow was also taken away of some guys that you thought were going to be good, and especially with Chevy's dominance at the start of this year, they weren't there.
No, and
So
to
I
your point too. They said on the broadcast this was the first time the Joe Gibbs camp, every single car brought a different setup to the track.
And correct and drastically different setups.
and almost, well, really all of them did lead a lap.
Correct. Which is pretty nuts, especially knowing that they're bringing their brand new nose to a track that nose hadn't run at.
And Ford as well.
Correct, especially short track.
You had RFK finishing second and fourth, defending champ Blaney in fifth. You had
Dude,
Michael McDowell, who we were saying is could be coming on this year. He finished eighth. Chase Briscoe, a guy that in a team that needs to perform, finished ninth.
man.
So I feel
Gregson
And
ran well all day. Gregson is proving
Gregson
that
ran. Yep.
Gregson is proving that he belongs.
Can we
He's got
confidently?
he's got this new Ford nose, but dude's proven he can run.
They asked Denny that today this on his podcast. Can we confidently say we've seen drastic improvements in the SHR camp?
So far, I would say yes.
I'd agree. Now we've got, again, same conversation we've had the last 3 weeks. Small sample size.
Yep.
But you've gone from super speedway to a mile and a half to a short track. They've proven that they can put at least one car in the top 10.
Yep.
Fair enough.
I will say, I don't want to say drastic improvement, but I want to say this is what they need.
Well,
If you want to say drastic improvement, I'm going to say get a win, maybe 2 wins, and we can say, all right, the SHR is on the mend. I'm going to say we definitely have seen an improvement. Again, Noah Gregson, small sample size, but holy smokes. He's running well. Briscoe finishing 9th. Priest has got some work to do. And who else is in that camp? Priest, Gregson, Briscoe,
Brandon Briscoe and Barry.
Barry. Yeah,
Barry's
Barry.
back to a cross all day. So
But I'm pleasantly surprised. And I would say this is what they need for Tony putting him on for Tony being as public as he was and one of the things he said. This is what they need. I mean, you're seeing those guys run in the top 10 and getting broadcast time. And I know you want to say, geez, you're going to celebrate broadcast time. But like they said on Door Bumper Clear, if we only talked about them when they won a race, we would never talk about them. So, good for them. And to your point too, before Denny said today, he said his crew chief Gabe Hart was on his tail about why he couldn't pass Gregson, and he just said, kind of alluding to your point before, Kelly, he said he could, the air on the car and the ability to drive in the corner, he's like, I just literally could not pass.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's definitely an improvement for SHR. I'm happy. I think it's better when Tony's got those 4 cars are in the conversation. I mean, that one year, forget what year it was, but back in the day when it was Busch, Almirola, like when they would get attached at the bumper at a super speedway, and like those 4 would just, as SHR dominance, they would just knife right through the field
yeah,
and get right in the line in the front and run away. But no, definitely an improvement for him. I'm happy. Gregson, he's got the talent, so hopefully they keep doing this. Briscoe obviously showed he can get a win a few years ago, but
I want to circle back real quick. Was it a good race? I'd say yes, from the standpoint of the storylines that you got out of it. Like I said, it's Chevy struggled, Fords and Toyotas dominated and covered a lot of the race, and guys that you thought were going to be good struggled, but it wasn't the door banging, tight racing that we've seen these past 3 weeks. But again, Phoenix going to Phoenix. Drivers know what they're getting into, and it's their job ultimately to figure it out.
Yep. New package. Everyone knew they were coming here. They tested. So that's
I
what it
would
is.
say that track firmly cemented itself to be a championship track.
I could agree with that.
Yep.
I do not.
I don't think it deserves to lose a race. I think it's 2 races. Just got to maybe put them on a different spot.
Yep.
I'm not in the camp to go to Homestead for a championship race. No, I'm just not.
Which that could be a whole nother conversation zone, right?
Sorry.
But
It's an opinion. It's more opinion based at that point, I would feel. But
we'll say.
So
go ahead.
I was just gonna recap the race. So Christopher Bell, he wins the race. He led 50 laps. Buscher finished second. Ty Gibbs finished third. He led 57 laps. Brad K fourth. Ryan Blaney fifth. Ross Chastain sixth. Martin Truex Jr. seventh. He led 55 laps. McDowell eighth. Briscoe ninth. Tyler Reddick rounds out your top 10. 11 Noel Greg. Denny Hamlin 12 Noah Gragson. 13th Daniel Suarez. 14th Kyle Larson. Hocevar rounds out your top 15. So
I'm gonna blast a couple quick hitters at you guys. First off, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. The Spire report card episode that we had, I gave them A+ expectation. If they got to win, I would say one of the people I am pleasantly surprised with, Carson Hocevar. If he can just not piss people off and continue to do what he's doing,
Yep.
he's gonna
Sure.
be in that 14 to 17 range in the playoffs come cutoff time.
I
Might
was
be in a few, or he's gonna be out right there on a playoff on the cut race, and it's gonna be
generally curious on what he was going to do this year. I was a little concerned, but he's proven me wrong.
yeah.
correct.
Another quick hitter, the Christopher Bell performance. I'm just gonna throw this out there. After a race like that, I think he's got the potential to give us a William Byron type year.
I think this is going to be you can no longer call me an underdog year.
This is going to be the William Byron year from last year. He'll be the William Byron this year, where it's like, all right, he is on the map. He's got 5 wins this year. He has cemented himself as one of the dogs.
Sure.
Yep, absolutely.
So, hell of a damn race. A lot of controversy around it in terms of a couple different fashions, I would say. So Christopher Bell locks himself in, proves that hey, Duke can get himself in the final four. He could be a championship contender. So, let's go ahead and kick this over to some race previews. And Van Grohl, I'll kick this over to you first for the old Rattler 250.
Yeah, the Rattler 250. I'm definitely excited for this one. Obviously, this is probably the next biggest super late model race that we've had since the ASA opener. I mean, you got a lot of your typical guys that are going to be down there. I'm also repping the Midwest Tour shirt for the Midwest guys that are heading down there. Austin Nason, Justin Wandike, Gabe Sommers, but you got your guys like Steven Assey, Bubba Pollard, last year's champ, Jacob Gomes, Das, Grill, Hind, Finch, Robbins. I mean, you got all the guys are going to be down there this weekend for that. So, Sunday, March 17th, for the newly rebranded UARA late models and replacing the SRL late models. Gonna be on Race America. Keep an eye out for a race preview. I'll put that out later this week for that.
Cam, we'll kick it over to you for Cup Series and truck racing as Xfinity takes a week off for Bristol.
Yep, just pulling it up here. Yeah, it's Bristol, baby. And we're going back on concrete, no dirt this year. So, yeah, for everybody that, pardon I'm not even going to say it, complained about the dirt. You guys got your concrete race, so this better be a damn good race. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, as you said, Xfinity's off. So trucks are rolling Saturday at 3:00 for practice. Then shortly after qualifying, then we'll have followed by cup practice, cup qualifying on Saturday night. And then truck race rolls at 8:00 Eastern time on Saturday night. And then, cup race rolls Sunday at 3:30 Eastern. So, looking forward to that. Bristol always puts on a heck of a show, and
Let's remember last year that second race on the asphalt or on the concrete, not asphalt, concrete. They brought that new tire and that baby showed out. So expect a hell of a damn good race for
Mhm.
that one as well. So kind of getting into your last race preview, we got Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series. They're kicking off their season at the Talladega Short Track. They got Friday and Saturday night racing. $5,000 to win, 15,000 win on Saturday. So, huge paydays there. You could win both features. We're gonna win 20,000 to be hell of a damn paycheck for that. But got some pretty significant guys, and I'll preview it a little bit more on the race previews. But Joseph Joyner, Ash Winger, Tanner English are just a couple to name that as well. That will be running with the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series. So those guys are getting ready to kick their seasons off. But touching just real quick on NASCAR, we always pick race picks. So
I almost would consider this our way too early race picks. I think we're gonna have to get to that point just because, I mean, Christ, we're beginning of the week, we haven't even seen practice of qualifying. So,
all right, well, I'll take MTJ.
oh damn, that was quick. Hold on, I gotta get back over to that portion here.
Yep, MTJ.
All right, Cam, you're up next.
I'm staying in the Toyota camp and I'm going all in. Come on, it's the model for the year, Denny Hamlin.
Oh,
You guys
Oh,
see his hats? His hat, he's got sweet merch out that his model for the year is all in, and it's A and the L's are 11s. He's got some sweet merch out.
okay.
Well, you took my number one pick.
Let's go,
Whoa.
dude.
Yeah, about time you got to think a little bit here. Pick a dud.
Pick a dud, he says.
I would pick Austin Dillon if I were you.
And yeah,
You know what? I
for
was
sure.
thinking that Chevy camp though. Give me
Kyle
old
what?
Kyle Larson.
Oh, Kyle Larson. Okay. Kyle L instead of Kyle B.
Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna
Right.
take. Real quick, I just want to point out past super late models, they're also racing at Hickory this weekend. And Extreme Outlaw Midgets, they get their season started at Southern Illinois Center this weekend as well.
And then the last one hitter I was going to hit on, NASCAR Fantasy. We're down bad.
Some are
Carolyn,
down bad.
Carolyn wanted her shout out. She's won 2 of the 3 weeks since she joined, but I playing the long game this year. Wasn't even in the ballpark. I was a couple laps down this week in fantasy, so we're playing the long game. But just pulled up the current standings. We got Jack Mankellen at 715.
New leader.
New leader Dietzo at 705. The tire changer Cam at 687. Gasman me at 631. Well, Kurt Busch stand at 608. Gasman's girl at 583 and Sophie's pit picks at 580. So relatively grouped up, about 100-point difference there. Gasman's girl and Sophie's pit picks they're going to be battling that missed first week for a long time.
But hey, they're gaining some ground on us. We can't
Yeah.
I mean,
can't
they're
write them
only
off.
120 they're only 120 points out of it. And I mean, when you look at what the week that we just had, you guys had well over 200 and I put up 140. I mean, that's a 60-point swing in 1 week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully I'll share that with you guys and you guys can start laying some eggs and we'll be
Well,
riding the sun.
there's time. If you want to jump in, there's time.
Yep.
It's at the end of the day, we'd love to have you. If you got a friend that's thinking about doing it, have the two of you, three of you, whatever it is, jump in and we can have you guys go at it. And give you a couple shout outs there as well. So there's plenty of time as we hop into that. But
Different
at the end of the
strategy this
day,
year. We're playing the long game.
yep.
Last year came way out of the gates, way too hot. So
Yeah.
I'm about to turn the jets on you guys.
No, I mean at the end of the day, lots of time. We can have a group racing for first. We can have a group racing for third. We can have a group racing for fifth. You never know And it can kind of get real interesting in a real couple different fashions. So,
Yep.
great to see that we've got a few more than just the three of us racing from last year. So, as we kind of wrap up the episode here, NASCAR Fantasy is wide open. If you want in, get in. It's a public league, so feel free to hop in with us on the pit crew.
Freestone's Pit Crew Fantasy.
Yep.
Yeah. Other than that, we appreciate any likes, listens, subscribes, comments. Always drop your race winners. Be on the look for the race previews that'll come out at the end of the week. Being able to kind of get a little bit more in depth in terms of race winners, previews, track locations, track lengths, all of the great stuff that goes into a couple of those different series. So stay on the lookout for those as those come out. So making sure you got your bell turned on for those as we put those out. But other than that, stay tuned for the race previews and make sure you got the bell on as we release content and or next week's episode. So we'll see you guys all next week.